testimony. Sorry. Okay, on for 5 minutes, Mr. Fast.
Well, thank you very much, Madam Chair, and welcome to the panel, especially Steve. The last time you and I were at this committee together, I think I was sitting over there right next to you, and we were defending CITA, or trying to defend CITA, right? Let me start by just asking a follow-up question on Mr. Kerry's concerns, and that is about the economic impact statement. We have asked Minister Freeland for that for months now. Obviously, we as a committee, certainly we on the opposition side, are not prepared to buy a pig in the poke. We want to know exactly what Canada is signing on to and the impact this agreement will have on our economy. And I note that the United States, back in April of last year, completed its own economic impact assessment, some 400 pages, telling Americans and their decision makers exactly what was in the agreement, the impact it would have on their economy. And it just baffles me why our government, by the way, I'm not pinning this to your shoulder, I'm saying this is the government's failure to deliver on something essential when we're dealing with the largest trade agreement Canada will ever be party to. And so I'm going to ask you to, first of all, pass on our profound disappointment to the minister about her failure to deliver on this right now. Can you, Steve, provide us with assurances that before final ratification takes place, before this committee process is finished, that we will have an economic impact assessment available to all of us MPs around this table?
I'm fairly confident that I can provide you with that assurance, because we are very close to finishing, not our group, but the Chief Economist group, finishing that economic assessment. You mentioned the U.S. assessment that was done. We examined that closely when that came out, and it did come out some time ago, as you pointed out. But they assigned a particularly large amount of value to what they termed reduced policy uncertainty. That's not really something that can be measured quantitatively through an economic assessment, but it made a huge difference in the conclusion of their assessment. If you remove this notion of reduced policy uncertainty, which is fairly nebulous, the U.S. analysis actually projects a loss in relation to the NAFTA outcome, or the new NAFTA outcome. What we've been trying to do in our own analysis, and we've been talking to our economists as they've been conducting this, is to try to come up with something that we can defend credibly. And as I mentioned earlier too, given that this is a revisiting of an existing agreement, we already essentially have free trade. So significant new gains are not something that's likely to appear.
Okay. Maybe I can follow up on that because my time is short.
Sure.
You said in your comments this is all about preserving Canada's market access to the partner states, the U.S. and Mexico. I don't think that Donald Trump saw it that way.
Absolutely not.
He saw it as gaining new market access. And I've looked at the agreement. It looks like Canada, on issues of market access, it was Canada that conceded without any corresponding gains on market access. I know there's some improvements on how we deal with non-tariff barriers like sanitary and phytosanitary standards, but I don't see any real substantive new market access in Canada's favor, and yet the Americans certainly have new market access, especially in the area of chicken, dairy, eggs. I'm just wondering how we square that, because the government said this was going to be a win-win-win. Promised this was going to be a better deal than we had before. And quite frankly, by any standard that I've applied, this agreement is lesser. Yes, it preserves market access to the United States, our largest trading partner, but it's not a better agreement.
Well, I think that when you look at the issue of market access, what was negotiated is fairly limited. There were no real market access gains in the industrial sector. There were no real market access gains in fisheries sector. The only area where there were any significant market access improvements, and significant might be even a strong word in this respect, were with respect to protected products. So supply management for Canada, sugar and sugar-containing products, peanuts, margarine in the U.S. So while we did offer the U.S. increased access to our dairy, poultry, and egg markets to some degree under certain conditions, we also gained access to the U.S. dairy market. We gained access to the U.S. sugar-containing product market, peanut butter market, other various markets. But I might ask Aaron if he wants to elaborate on some of that.
Thank you very much. I'll keep it very brief. Yes, I would say the access may not look significant taken in the context of the overall agreement, but I can assure you it's quite significant to the sectors who stand to benefit. So if you look at sugar in particular, the United States will provide a new country-specific TRQ for Canada for 9,600 tons of refined sugar, 9,600 metric tons of sugar-containing products upon entry into force. That's in addition to the market access that we already enjoyed under the NAFTA for those products. The U.S. has agreed to eliminate its tariff on margarine over 5 years and to adjust the rule of origin so that it's easier for Canadian margarine manufacturers to access that market. They've also agreed to eliminate their tariff on peanut butter over 5 years and to eliminate their tariff on peanuts over 5 years. It's not a wide range of products, but there wasn't very much that wasn't already subject to tariff disciplines under the NAFTA.
Thank you very much. On to Mr. Sheehan.